And welcome back to the Ziggy Zone. I'm your host, Ziggy. Hi. So, just to get right into it, February 19th was D-Day, also known as the NBA's trade deadline. And there was a flurry of movement. I mean, it was a player carousel. No player was safe, whether they were a franchise player or just a really good player. No one was safe. So we're going to run down some of the highlights of the trades. We're going to start with a 3-team deal that consisted of Milwaukee Bucks, Philadelphia 76ers, and the Phoenix Suns. Sidebar, Phoenix offloaded everyone. And Phoenix was a playoff contender. They were, I think, in the 9th seed. They were in the 8th, but I think they slipped. I think OKC started winning. But that's neither here nor there. We're talking about trades today. So, Michael Carter Williams, Philly offloaded him. I was surprised they traded him to the Bucks. And then Brandon Knight from the Bucks went down to Phoenix. Very interesting. Nevertheless, you talk about young players. I'm guessing GMs there having something different in mind for their team. So we'll see how that goes. Now, Boston and Phoenix entered a trade, and they basically swapped players. Marcus Thornton from the Celtics went to Phoenix, and then Isaiah Thomas, which was actually interesting because Isaiah Thomas was just with the Kings, I believe, last year. I hadn't even realized he had went to Phoenix, but now he's over in Boston. So Boston is like a hodgepodge of players. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know what they want their identity to look like. I mean, they offload. I guess Thomas would be a good replacement for Rondo, I guess. I think that's maybe where they're going. Nevertheless, still interesting. Now, here's a good one. 3-team trade deal between Detroit Pistons, Oklahoma City Thunder, and Utah Jazz. Reggie Jackson. We all know who Reggie Jackson is. They say he looks like Token from the PJs. So go watch PJs and then not the PJs, I'm sorry. Token from South Park. Sorry, didn't mean it, no shade, just that's what people say he looks like it. So Reggie Jackson, he left the Thunder, surprisingly, and went to Detroit. Detroit has Brendan Jennings. I'm guessing Reggie Jackson will play alongside Brendan Jennings. Not quite sure what that'll look like. Poor DJ Augustine. Poor guy. He can't keep a team. And he's a quality player. He's a good, solid guy to have coming off the bench, but I swear he's like on his 15th team already. I promise you, no shade. So DJ Augustine, he went from Detroit to OKC, so I'm guessing that's a swap of guards. Steve Novak, I did not know, literally did not know Steve Novak was in the league. There are some players that you're like, oh, used to play. Steve Novak is one. And apparently he left the Jazz to go to OKC, or he was traded. He didn't leave, I'm sure. But yeah, he was traded from the Jazz to OKC. And then from the OKC to the Jazz was Kendrick Perkins. I believe Perkins is hurt. I haven't seen him really play in the last 2 years. He's getting up there in age. Might be approaching retirement. So yeah, that's who all left. That was an interesting little hodgepodge of trades. A lot of good, solid names. So I'm guessing these 3 teams, Detroit, Oklahoma City, and Utah, they just want to strengthen their bench, possibly. And then, because like I said, Boston is doing anything. Tayshaun was traded from Memphis earlier this season to Boston, and then he got traded from Boston back to Detroit, which is where he started. So my guess is Tayshaun, he's a vet. He's in his 30s now. Really good, solid player, but my guess is he's about to approach retirement. I mean, I believe that once you can't stay with a team, once you're only with the team for a season and you are bouncing around, it's almost time to call it quits. So, but Tayshaun is back where he started. Maybe this will be his last year. Maybe he'll play one more year, but I'm hoping he'll retire soon and that he's not traded again. That's not a good look. And then there are some trades within Houston and New York. Houston is still a playoff contender team. New York, they're just trying to get draft picks at this point. Houston and Philly, once again, these are just bench trades. You wouldn't know these guys. And a really, really, really solid 3-team deal. Miami Heat, New Orleans Pelicans, and the Phoenix Suns. Told you, Phoenix, they just doing anything. They were contenders, but it seems like they have a whole new team now. By the time you get in with all these trades, it's like nobody was on the team before these trades. So Dragic, he was over it. He was over Phoenix. He was like, he's not re-signing. So I think Phoenix made the smart thing, which was to get a return on investment. If he's not going to stay, you might as well trade him, get something in return. So Goran Dragic, along with his brothers, I'm guessing they're a team. They're Goran and Zoran. They're not twins. They're like 2 years apart, 2 or 3 years apart. I guess they said, we're getting rid of Goran. Might as well take Zoran with you. They went to Miami. Norris Cole from the Heat. He has the high top fade. Him and a couple of other players. Y'all don't know him, so don't worry. Went to the Pelicans. And then Danny Granger, who he was with the Pacers. He was a really decent player. He suffered an injury. Was traded to 76ers last year for Evan Turner. Wasn't feeling it. I believe bought out his contract. Signed with the Clippers. Ended up at last season. I want to say that's what happened last season. And ended up being traded or signed with the Heat this year. He can't stay with the team either. Might be time to retire. Granger's still kind of young though. He's like 30, 31. He's in his early 30s. But it might be time to hang it up if he can't find a team. And John Salmons. John Salmons probably is on the brink of retirement as well. So that was that nice little blockbuster. This was probably the blockbuster trade just because of all of the hoopla around Goran Dragic and him not wanting to extend his contract with Phoenix. And then JaVale McGee. Haven't really seen him all season. Didn't really see him last year. He is in Philly. He's with the 76ers now, so he's back on the East Coast. He started with the Wizards. Went to Denver a couple years ago. Now he's back with Philly. Not sure what he's going to do there. Now, Thaddeus Young of the Timberwolves. He was traded. He was exchanged for Kevin Garnett between Brooklyn and Minnesota. My guess is that Brooklyn is really trying to make a playoff push. KG is still a good, solid player. He is up there in age. My hope is he's in his mid to late 30s. I think he's over 35 at this point. He's back with the team where he started. And so perhaps he might finish off this year, maybe play one more year, and then he really needs to retire. Both Garnett and Pierce, they could probably retire this year and no one would be upset. Andre Miller, he also needs to retire. He's 38, 39. He needs to hang it up. He also can't stay with a team. So he had issues. Was it with Portland? He either had issues in Portland or in Denver last year. Had issues. It was with Portland, I believe. Was benched. He didn't like it. Ended up in DC with the they're not the Bullets anymore, the Wizards. Ended up in DC, but then he was just traded to Sacramento, which might be a good look for him. Karl Malone's back up there. He's probably used to Karl Malone from the Denver days, so we'll see how that goes, but my guess is that he probably needs to look for retirement. And the Ramon Sessions was just traded from, obviously, Sacramento to the Wizards. So the Wizards are making a push. They're a nice little young talented team. And so we'll see how that goes. And then Aaron Aflalo and Jason and Alonzo Gee from the Nuggets went over to Portland. I think that was a good move for Portland's bench. The West is very deep. So when you talk about players like Will Barton, Victor Claver, Thomas Robinson, these are all players that I have no idea who they are, which means I don't know how much they're contributing. But when you talk about a team like Portland, who with Lillard and LaMarcus Aldridge, who are really solid, which is a really solid team and really making a playoff push, Aflalo and Gee, those are definitely good pieces to add to your bench. So it was a heck of a Thursday, or the 19th was a heck of a day. I'm sorry, I don't know which day it was. However, it's interesting because you just don't know. It's one player who I feel kind of bad for, and that's Nate Robinson. I think he's home in Seattle. I don't know where he is. He was traded, bought out his contract, and he hasn't been picked up. I really hope this isn't the end for Nate Robinson. I think he definitely couldn't stay with the team. You know, he had some really good years in New York, but really after his New York years, he just sort of bounced around. But I think that he definitely has a lot to contribute on the bench as a guard. So, nevertheless, that was your roundup of the NBA trade deadline. We'll be discussing which of the teams are really making a push. It's been a week since All-Star, and so let's see who's really up to it. Let's see in the next couple of weeks which teams are better because of these trades and which teams are not. A lot of teams, you know, the Warriors and the Clippers, the Hawks, these are certain teams. These are the teams, some of the key teams who really didn't make any moves. And I wonder if that's going to be a good thing or not. You know, time will only tell. Ray Allen is still out there in the market. He's still a free agent, so he can sign with anyone at any point too. So it'll be interesting at this point. If teams want new players, they'll just have to acquire those guys that are free agents, and you know they'll have to clear waivers and physicals and things of that nature. So we'll see. Ta-ta.